Today we are talking about current trends in education that we have going on, and we are talking about remote, online, and hybrid learning. Yeah, I was gonna say more of this fine.
Basically what it is, or what they are, is remote learning is, all learning is online by still having class through video. An example would be Zoom, which we all know. Online learning is asynchronous class. It would be on your own pace and it's self-motivated. And we have asynchronous class this week. And hybrid learning is in both in class, and it's either online or remote learning.
All right, so we're gonna look at a few videos. Let me pull them up. We're gonna look at a few videos on each topic, and we're gonna talk about just some points the videos make about each learning. So the first one is online learning.
Imagine you walk into an on-campus classroom. You take a seat in one of the neatly arranged desks facing the board. While you wait for the instructor to arrive, you chat with other students. Once the instructor arrives, they begin to teach you content using a lecture. Sometimes the instructor calls on students to answer questions, but most of the time you are a recipient, not a participant, in the learning process. Sometimes the instructor covers material too quickly for you to fully grasp it, and other times the instructor is moving too slowly to keep your attention. Your learning experience is limited to the time, space, and speed of that classroom. This is the traditional face-to-face model of school. Now imagine that you enter your own personal classroom at any time, day or night, that works with your schedule. While no one else is physically present in that space with you, you see your computer or mobile device and know that you can connect with classmates and your instructor with just a few mouse clicks, keystrokes, or taps of a button using online tools like discussion boards, email, or video chat. You can move through the class content at the pace that works for you. Instead of feeling the pressure to instantly understand everything the professor shares during a lesson, you know that you have the opportunity to review multimedia lesson materials as many times as you would like. Instead of being put on the spot to answer questions in class, you can take your time to think through and more fully form responses to questions before you post them on a discussion board. All of the learning materials and information you need to be successful in the course are available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the entire course. This is online learning.
All right, so that video makes a lot of really good points about how online learning, it's something we see in almost every classroom or every school at least right now. And it's super beneficial to allow students to work at their own pace and get everything they need without feeling the pressure of in-person classes. So the next video we're gonna watch is about remote learning.
Remote learning. Some students already learn from home with online schools. When schools are closed, all students need to learn remotely. Remote means far away from or distant. Remote learning is far away from school. Remote learning means that kids and parents can choose their own schedule. You should study the same subjects that you did when you were in school. Keeping a routine helps you know when it is time to work. Your teacher may assign you work to complete. There are a lot of fun things to learn while you are at home. Make sure that you listen to your parents, follow the directions for work from school, and learn about things that you are interested in. Keep your learning on track so that you can learn what you need to have a successful future.
So that video kind of was more about tips for when you are online learning or remote learning. Remote learning and online learning also is very self-motivated, as we're going to talk about a little later. It also is important to keep the learning as normal as possible, which we'll also talk about later. Now lastly, we're going to look at some of this video, which is hybrid learning.
Hi everyone, today I'll be discussing what is hybrid learning. In today's generation, most people use technologies that really help with their studies, to learn, to research, to answer, and to watch videos that are related to a certain topic, and that's what we call online learning activities. On the other hand, traditional classroom instruction is the face-to-face interaction of a teacher and student. With the combination of the online learning activities and traditional classroom instruction is what we call hybrid learning, or sometimes called as blended learning. In this delivery mode of instruction, the contact hours are replaced with required synchronous and asynchronous online instruction through the learning management system. Now, what is the learning management system? The learning management system is a software application for the delivery of educational courses. The teacher will post notes or quizzes for the students to answer. One good example of this application is a Google Classroom. Aside from that, we have an educational video conference where the teacher and students have online interaction through video call or Google Meet. Unlike traditional classroom instruction, hybrid learning is student-centered. It helps students to have active learning opportunities and engage them with challenging concepts such as self-reflection or self-assessment. In hybrid instruction and learning,
Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. But this video makes a really good point about how hybrid learning is very student-centered. So when you're in person or online, sometimes the group can kind of clump together in like a class. So having a hybrid situation, students can have a very individualized system where they're in person, they're getting that face-to-face teaching, but then when they go home and they go online, they might have their own individual system that they can use to learn better. So each one of these things has its own benefits. We're going to talk a little bit more about all of them and all the benefits they have together. But first, we're going to talk about the background of this.
So the background of online learning, University of Phoenix was one of the first to use online learning in 1989. It did not become a huge trend until 2020 during quarantine. And online and remote learning, they became a vital part of education. So examples would be Zoom, Canvas, Google Classroom, Schoology, and Microsoft Teams.
All right, so some benefits and some downfalls to online learning or remote learning or hybrid. So some benefits can include something like COVID-19, where you can be in a Zoom or a work at your own pace. When something like that happens, you really have no other choice but to do this, and this is a way that is really efficient and beneficial to keep learning going when you can't be that face-to-face classroom. Students have a more open schedule or a flexible schedule when they're learning online. Some students have very, very, very busy lives. Having that open schedule or the flexible schedule can really help them out in their home life, not just their educational life. And then if students are more advanced or want to just get work ahead or work done, they can do that with online or remote learning more so than a face-to-face classroom where they need to stay more so in a group as they go. So downfalls to this is sometimes, depending on if the teacher is accommodating well to the online system, they may lose some social interaction with peers just because you are at home, you're not in class. And at times it can be, once again, if the teacher is not fully ready for this system, it might be harder to create engagement or lessons for the students to be interactive with everything going on and more willing to learn. But we will talk about that later, how to create that engagement. And with every single technology issue or every single technology thing, there are going to be problems that come up that may not be fixed right away and can interfere with learning.
And then strategies to incorporate the 3 types of learning. Incorporating online learning into the classroom so that students have a place with all the information that they may need. And when doing remote learning, make this experience as normal as possible so students still can participate and learn. It's important to stay on track during hybrid to maintain a routine and keeping groups on schedule so they don't get behind. And it's important to use your resources, and there's so many great options for making online learning fun.
There are going to be challenges when you are doing this. So some examples on how to overcome those: be enthusiastic. When you're excited about learning, students are going to be excited about learning. So you need to be enthusiastic about what you're teaching, whether it's a boring topic or not. Make it sound fun because students are more willing to be engaged then. You need to change your approach to teaching. You cannot go on the screen if you are doing remote learning or have the same format for online learning every single time because students will get tired of it. It's important to create a routine, but not do the exact same thing over and over again as far as their approach to teaching because it will become boring for the students. Add gamification. We know that gamification is a great way to keep students engaged and interested in the lessons, and learning online makes that opportunity even more available because it is online. There's so many resources. Create a plan for technical issues. They're gonna happen. Have a plan or a way of fixing them when they arise so that it doesn't interfere too much with learning. And then to create normal interaction the students are missing out on when they are at home versus in person, you can use Zoom groups if you're using Zoom, or an equivalent to that, some type of breakout room so students can still interact with one another on their own terms rather than in front of the teacher, because they do interact differently, so it's important to let them have their own normal interaction.
So now we're gonna do a scavenger hunt. So if you can get your computer, iPad, phone, you're gonna look up 5 different resources. So one resource you're gonna look up is meeting with a class online. So it could be Zoom, it could be whatever you use. And then another resource would be to engage students into online learning. That would be anything that's engaging. Another resource would be for organizing classwork online. It could be like something that you can use to organize your papers and all of your stuff at Canvas and Microsoft Teams, I think. Another resource would be for dealing with technical issues. So anything, how to fix technology issues if you or get to a technology issue. And then the last resource would be what you think would be helpful.
Yeah, so that'll be just anything that you think might help you as a teacher when you're teaching online. So to summarize everything we talked about, and the point we're trying to get across is, as educators, this is a very helpful and frequent trend that is there for us to use. It has so many benefits, and we need to also just need to know how to use this. It's like I said, it's really important to know how to do this because with online, remote, hybrid learning, you need to be on track with the students' needs and meet them through those systems. You need to know how to do that. Even if this isn't the regular in your classroom as a teacher, if it's not normal in your school district, it's still important to be aware and know how to use this because no one knew how to use this really before COVID, and we saw how that turned out. So if something does happen, hopefully not, but if something does happen again where we need to only use this type of system, it's important to know how to use it because it may become the norm. And that is online, remote, and hybrid learning. Okay, so now we are going to play a quick Kahoot to test the knowledge of everyone who participated in our lesson. So we cannot play it because Kahoot costs money. So our first question is, what is a resource for meeting face-to-face online during remote learning? The options are Zoom, Schoology, Google Classroom, or Canvas. From our lesson, we talked about the only one that is for face-to-face meeting is Zoom. That is probably the most common, I would say, used thing for face-to-face learning. So that is something definitely to look at if you were thinking about doing remote learning. The next question is, hybrid learning is when students meet both in person and online. This is true or false? The answer is true. Yes, hybrid learning is when you go both in person and online. This was a heavily used system during this school year that followed the start of COVID to get less students in the school. What is the benefit of this type of learning? So what is the benefit of online, remote, or hybrid learning? The options are decreases student engagement, takes extra long to do, or student-centered. Obviously that's the answer. This type of learning is very student-centered rather than just following the group of face-to-face. Remote learning is when students have to be close or near the school. It's a true or false question. The answer is false. No, if you remember from the video that we showed on remote learning means that the student is away from the school or far away from the school. You do not need to be anywhere near the school to do remote learning. That's kind of the point. What is one strategy for creating engagement in this learning? That's not giving any breaks, talking in a monotone voice, lecturing, or gamification. Gamification, yep, that is honestly what we are doing right now is gamification. It's creating a game out of the lesson so students are more willing to participate, engage, and they're also still getting just as good of knowledge from the game as they would just a lecture, if not more. Technical issues is one of the biggest challenges in this type of learning, true or false? True. That is probably one of the reasons too that a lot of teachers stray away from using this type of thing is because they don't want to deal with the technical issues or they don't know how to deal with the technical issues. So creating a plan for this is huge for making online learning work. What is an example of how to overcome challenges in this type of learning? The answers are create a technical issue plan, be enthusiastic about learning, change teaching approach regularly, or all of the above. It's all the answers that we said. All those things can help students be more engaged in what's going on. And that is a big challenge that will be happening. Which system would you use in your future classroom? This is a type your answer. So students can put either online, hybrid, or remote learning. And then we would talk about why that is their type. And why they think that's something they would use in their classroom, whether they're more comfortable with it, whether they think it's more beneficial for the students, whatever that may be. And it may come down to the school district, but as teachers, we need to know which one it works for us in our classroom and how we can incorporate that to benefit the students and the students' needs. Anything to add?
I think I would use hybrid because it's like half in class and then half online.
Yeah, I think I would use online learning just because I think it's the students can do what they feel is best for them rather than me telling them. But I think it's going to come out of our school district. But yeah, that's a good point.